My name is Kimberly Tyson. My address is 3748 Arden Road, Memphis, Tennessee, and I am a representative of the Peer Power Organization. Good evening, everyone. Today, I want to share with you all my experience with Peer Power, an organization that has been instrumental in shaping not only my academic journey, but also my understanding of the importance of community, mentorship, and active learning. During my last 2 years of high school, I had the privilege to serve as a student intern tutor, or SIT, where I helped tutor elementary students after school. Those days were filled with joy, challenges, and countless eureka moments as I watched their young minds grasp new concepts, all the while refining my own understanding and learning of the art of patience and effective communication. Over the summer, I transitioned into a new role as a success coach. This evolution reflects not just my personal growth, but the profound impact Peer Power has had on my academic and growth mindset. In my junior year as a SIT, I was just beginning to grasp the profound impact of mentorship. Tutoring younger children wasn't just about solving math problems or analyzing literature. It was about building trust, understanding individual struggles, and illuminating the path forward for others, as other mentors once did for me. Seeing students' eyes light up when they finally grasp a concept or watching them regain confidence in their abilities were moments of pure magic for me. However, it wasn't just the students who benefited from this program. I did as well. Peer Power instilled in me the values of active learning, the importance of education, and the responsibility of being personally accountable for my future. It groomed me into a leader, a mentor, and a lifelong learner. Now, I'm able to be a success coach to high school students, encouraging them to aim higher and believe in themselves. There's boundless potential that lies within every young mind. I see so much of my younger self in the students that I mentor. Their hopes, fears, dreams, and challenges mirror my own experiences just a while back. It's a full circle moment, and I'm deeply humbled by it. Being a part of Peer Power reshaped my perspective on education, leadership, and community. As a high school student, Peer Power was my beacon, guiding me through challenges and helping me reach my potential in the classroom settings. Now, as a college student and a success coach, it's my turn to be that beacon for others. I encourage every student, whether in grade school or college, to consider the value of peer mentorship. The journey from being mentored to mentoring others is one of profound growth. I am eternally grateful to Peer Power for setting me on this path. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now on to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Thank you. It's 10.29 and 10.30 for the fund balance, and I am going to look and remember 10.13 and 10.14 for Peer Power. Yes, ma'am.
11.4 contract approval of Peer Power Foundation, $1,360,986. Is there a motion to approve this item in second?
Thank you.
Motion by Board Member Love. Second by Board Member Calvo. The floor is now open for discussion on this item.
I want to thank Ms. Tyson for sharing her testimony on the relevance of Peer Power during public comment tonight. Colleagues, Madam Superintendent, Madam Chair, members of the public, I asked to pull this item out of the consent agenda, not because I have anything in favor or against Peer Power, but rather because a $2.6 million investment is worth its own discussion. I welcome the opportunity to now hear from a member of our cabinet on what kind of metrics we are using to evaluate this particular investment. I am fully committed, as I said before, to moving outcomes for our students and for partnering with those who help us get there. But my colleagues and I and the general public need to know how investment like this fit into the larger strategy. How does this initiative fit, complement, and do not overlap with other internal mentoring services that we're currently offering? Without a clear strategy, we're simply putting outputs and not outcomes. As we have been discussing tonight, we have to constantly make tough choices about our budget. Thank you.
All right, so I know that Dr. Whitelaw, this has probably been a discussion for the last 3 months in Cabinet around just all of our services as we are preparing to come to the board with the business systems review and just really kind of making tough decisions around our upcoming ESSER cliff. So I know, Dr. Whitelaw, you're prepared in your research team, so if you want to go ahead and just jump into the questions that Board Member Calvo brought up.
Thank you, Superintendent and Board Member Calvo. So let me break your question down into parts, and then if I miss something, please let me know. First of all, when we talk about what metrics we will be using, I want to refer all of us back to our academic framework. Inside of our academic framework, peer power is wrapped around 2 key initiatives that the board has approved. Key initiative 1 around strengthening early literacy and continuing literacy. Key initiative 3 around relevant, rigorous, and equitable academics. If I go back to strengthening early literacy and continuing literacy, one of the strategies that we noted was to provide consistent, intensive, and personalized tutoring. If I also go over to initiative 3 under relevant, rigorous, and equitable academics, one of the strategies included enhanced ACT preparation opportunities for students pursuing post-secondary education. Also, if you go back into your framework book, there are key metrics that we'll be using as well as objectives. If we go to the high dosage, low ratio tutoring, the things that we want to provide in schools, what our metric is that we want to increase 6 to 7 percentage points on EOC as well as AC testing as well as iReady diagnostic. If we go over to key initiative 3, our objective under ACT preparation is to, by the end of the school year, that we want to continue to have our 11th graders to score at least a 16, and we want to increase those students who attend ACT tutoring 95% of the time. So our metric that we will be using, we will be looking at EOC, we will be looking at grades, as well as we'll be looking at, again, how we're moving on the iReady. Inside of the information that, and what we do know about peer power, schools that have been, meaning the peer power with peer power coaches, the schools that have been in more than 2 years, we've seen a trend that Whitehaven and East, our long-standing schools, have a level 5. Cordova, Ridgeway, and Central are also at a level 5. So we are seeing the trends. So again, the metrics, the strategies, and also all aligned to the 3 key initiatives that the board approved and is also inside of our academic framework.
Thank you, Dr. Whitelaw. I often hear in meetings with your team how we're providing mentoring, during and after school. Is this part of that mentoring portfolio? Is this in addition to? Yeah.
Let me separate the 2. One is on student interns that work mainly after school with our K through 8 students. The peer power coaches that deal with peer power ACT prep and tutoring service work during the day. And they support Algebra 1, Algebra 2, English 1, English 2, as well as biology. What we do know and what we admit that we will do a better job this year, we've already talked with peer power, that we want to help our principals because we gave our principals autonomy to select the classes. But this year we're going to be very intentional and make sure that we're supporting classes and supporting students who are definitely anywhere to 2 years behind, so we can improve and increase the achievement as well as the growth in those students.
All right, thank you. One more question. If is this grant a grant that we're paying upfront, or is this a reimbursement grant? And let me clarify, I'll give a little bit more context. I know sometimes, especially in today's labor market, just a lot of organizations, including ourselves, are not able to find the staff to do the work. So I think you know where I'm coming from.
That's a very fair question. And at this time, I will send that money question over to our CFO. And Tito can share with us how they bill us.
I'd love to hear from Tim.
So a really good question. So we are paying for these with ESSER funds, and just like most of our federal grants, it is reimbursable. But as far as services go, we don't pay for services until they're rendered. So on a monthly basis, based on our outcomes of the services rendered, that's when we provide payment through our AP system. The academics team, they'll sign off, say these services have been rendered, and then we're paying those invoices kind of on a monthly basis.
Well, thank you for all that clarification.
In our work session last week, we talked about the ACT, like the effectiveness of the ACT program, and that there was an average of 1 point increase. I don't have any frame of reference for what intensive ACT prep coaching looks like, and if that is above the national average. But I do see that it is the average composite score is 17.8, and I'm curious if you have any data around, is a 16.8 to maybe 17.8 average score, like how does that impact a ready graduate versus another investment that might get them meet more metrics in terms of being ready to graduate? Are we changing their decision points after they graduate by increasing that 1 point, or do you see other areas of which we would make a stronger impact with that investment?
Thank you, Board Member Garcia. So I want to break it up into two phases as well. I want to answer part of your question, then I'm going to then kick it over to Assistant Superintendent Dosha Generette, who can dig a little bit deeper around Ready Graduate, because I want to make sure we answer your question. The first part, when we looked at the ACT Prep University, and those are the students that go to the Prep University that we offer to all of our high schools. And what we noticed inside of the data, we noticed that if students, even if they attended one class, then their ACT score, and that's what Bill was talking about, at least 1 point. What we also know that if students attend 2 prep classes or prep sessions around ACT, then have a double dose, they almost go from like a 18.4 to a 20.9, and that's based on our data. But I don't want to forget this key question that you're asking around Ready Grad, and I would love for Assistant Superintendent Generette to just dig just a couple of seconds around what that looks like and what we're entailing and how we're focusing on it as a district.
Yes, so thank you so much. I do want to just bring into the space that if a student meets the 21 on the ACT, they're considered a ready grad. So inside of those numbers, which are the average of those students, we do have students who may have had, a 20 or 19 who then achieve the 21 or above. We also know that those numbers are connected to scholarship dollars and also are connected to them being able to take courses when they get to college and not have to be enrolled in remedial courses. And so the better that they do on those subgroup areas, the more of that they're not having to spend money taking remedial courses once they get to college because they've met that benchmark. And so any time that we can increase that ACT number, it ends up making sense for our students with dollars and also with opportunities. And so that's why we want to make sure that we're not only being very strategic with the data and the students who are taking that, but making sure that now that we know that the more doses that they have, the higher the score, that we are encouraging those students and working with parents to make sure that they have more exposure.
Thank you, and the additional context of that to 20.9 was really helpful, and I would encourage us to, if we're unlocking scholarship dollars, what's the return on investment, not just for the district, but for our students? So if we're, what is the scholarships that we're receiving when we do the 3 classes? So I'd love to see that because it matters to us how it affects our families too.
Turn your mic on.
11th graders to take the ACT test or some national test. Not all states do that, so sometimes that data is skewed because if all students are required in this state to take a college entrance exam, our data is going to be reflective of all students. But if you're in Mississippi, that's not a state requirement. If you're in Arkansas, that's not a state requirement. So sometimes the data is tainted that way.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too am glad we pulled this item, not due to lack of support, but to have this very broad conversation, Madam Superintendent. I think too often we have important partners to the district, but it becomes a perfunctory as far as we just renewing and renewing and renewing. So I think when we have new colleagues to come on and ask the tougher questions, what's our ROI on these services, it gives the administration time to reflect on what's important to this body, not the body that may have brought it 4 years ago or whatnot, or when Mr. McVeigh, had his vision of supporting young people through preparing them for college success and also paying them at the same time. I'm a proponent of peer power, not because of the ACT metric. If you look at the post-COVID data, ACT had its lowest drop in 30 years. For the first time since 1991, where the national average was below 20. And so when we look at that as a metric, I think peer power may want to revisit on its scorecard, because if it continues to be ACT scores, you may not be getting renewed. Well, let me tell you what's important to me. It's those young people that I got a chance to see present that's making money and able to provide and prepare for college year after year. They get to set a small nest egg aside that we get to provide for those kids, right? So it gets to say, hey, if I walk the straight and narrow and I'm good in math and science and I can help other kids be good in math and science, I can also get paid for it, and that's kind of cool. So as a board, I look forward to supporting that. I look forward to peer power bringing back a budget where the majority of those dollars are going straight to students. I'm not looking to support the administrative side of peer power moving forward. I think we should look to put more money in peer power and making sure those dollars are directly impacting kids. I want to look at the 3.5 average and say, hey, your GPA requirement, is it overall GPA? I might suck in everything but math. Might have a 2.5, but I can teach other kids how to add. I want to be in peer power. I want to make that money too. So let's make sure we are expanding the tent for programs like this and not looking at just ACT scores, because I think it's too narrow to really do what we should be doing as a body. Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Board Member Hewitt Garcia.
Aye.
Board Member Woods.
Aye.
Board Member Love. Board Member Calvo.
Aye.
Board Member Johnson.
Aye.
Board Member Williams. Vice Chair Coleman.
Aye.
There are 7 votes in the affirmative.
This motion passes. Thank you. 11.5, contract approval of peer power ACT prep and tutoring service, one we've been talking about it too.
Yes, I think we can.
$1,300,000. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Hewitt Garcia, second by Board Member Love. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Board Member Hewitt Garcia.
Aye.
Board Member Woods.
Aye.
Board Member Love.
Aye.
Board Member Calvo.
Aye.
Board Member Johnson.
Aye.
Board Member Williams. Vice Chair Coleman.
Aye.
There are 7 votes in the affirmative.